It was a rainy morning when the newest arrival to the clinic was brought in. The cat, with a coat dulled by neglect and hardship, sat quietly in the carrier. There were no visible injuries, no wounds that told a dramatic story. Yet the look in his eyes reflected exhaustion, as if he had carried the weight of the world on his small shoulders. The veterinary team gathered around as the examination began. At first glance, he seemed ordinary, a street cat who had somehow survived the harsh realities of life outdoors. But as they looked closer, the hidden struggles of this resilient creature began to unfold. His teeth were in terrible condition, decayed and broken, with severe inflammation of the gums that made eating painful. A closer examination revealed anemia so severe that his gums were pale, almost white. This anemia, likely caused by an infestation of fleas, had left him weak and vulnerable. The blood test brought more unsettling news. He tested positive for feline immunodeficiency virus, FIV. The immune deficiency had likely been the root cause of his dental issues, as his body struggled to fend off infections. Compounding this, early signs suggested a potential kidney problem, a diagnosis that cast a shadow over his future. Despite the grim findings, the vet saw a glimmer of hope. While the initial symptoms pointed to kidney damage, further examinations showed that his kidneys were functioning normally. This discovery felt like a small victory in a sea of challenges, a reason to keep fighting for his recovery. The decision was made to admit him to the hospital for intensive care. It wasn't an easy choice. Resources were already stretched thin, and there were other animals waiting for their turn at recovery. But there was something about this cat, a quiet resilience, a will to survive, that made giving up unthinkable. His treatment would be a long and arduous process. The first step was addressing the anemia. He was given iron supplements, a carefully balanced diet, and medications to stimulate red blood cell production. To combat his dental issues, antibiotics were administered to control the infection, with plans for dental surgery once his condition stabilised. Managing FIV was more complex. There was no cure, but his immune system could be supported through proper nutrition, regular veterinary care, and protection from secondary infections. This would be a lifelong journey, but one worth taking for a chance at a better life. In the days that followed, the cat's progress was slow but steady. He started eating small amounts of food, carefully chosen to be soft and easy on his sore gums. His once dull coat began to regain a slight sheen, a subtle sign that his body was beginning to heal. The hospital became his temporary home, a place of safety and care. The staff quickly grew fond of him, drawn to his gentle demeanour and quiet strength. Despite everything he had endured, he never lashed out or resisted the care he received. It was as if he understood that everyone was there to help him. However, the road ahead remained uncertain. His treatment would be costly and time-consuming, with no guarantees of success. The question loomed: would people care enough to help a cat with no visible injuries, no dramatic story to tug at their heartstrings? A call for help was made. The story of his struggles and resilience was shared, appealing to the kindness of strangers. Slowly, support began to trickle in: donations, words of encouragement, and offers to help in any way possible. Each gesture, no matter how small, became a testament to the power of compassion. As weeks turned into months, the cat's transformation became evident. His anemia improved, and his energy levels began to rise. Dental surgery removed the decayed teeth, allowing him to eat without pain for the first time in years. His immune system, while still compromised, became more stable under the watchful eye of his caretakers. The once weary cat started to show glimpses of his true personality. He would greet the staff with soft meows, follow them around the clinic, and even curl up on laps when given the chance. It was as if he was finally learning what it meant to feel safe and loved. For those who had doubted his chances, his recovery became a symbol of hope. It was a reminder that every life, no matter how small or unassuming, deserves a second chance. The scars of his past would remain, but they would not define him. As he prepared for the next chapter of his life, perhaps finding a forever home with someone who could appreciate his quiet strength, the team at the clinic couldn't help but feel a sense of pride. They had taken a chance on a cat that many would have overlooked, and in doing so they had witnessed a remarkable transformation. His story, like so many others, was a testament to the resilience of animals and the kindness of those who choose to help them. It was proof that even when the odds seem insurmountable, hope can prevail when given the chance. Let's move on to another story about another stray cat. However, the situation was diring. It was a chaotic scene when the cat was found, disoriented and lying by the side of a busy road. He had been struck by a car and left to fend for himself, his small body trembling from shock and pain. A passerby noticed him and didn't hesitate, carefully wrapping him in a jacket and rushing him to the nearest animal hospital. Upon arrival, the veterinary team sprang into action. The cat was weak, unable to move or even sit up. The surgeon's initial examination revealed a miracle. Despite the trauma, there were no fractures. His injuries were more internal, subtle, and complex. Stabilizing him became the top priority. The vets fed him through a syringe, ensuring he received the nutrients and hydration he needed to regain his strength. It was a slow process, but day by day, the small glimmers of hope began to appear. He was no longer just surviving, he was beginning to fight back. As the cat grew stronger, he surprised everyone with his determination. Where once he couldn't sit, he now wobbled on unsteady legs. His body control was poor, and every step was a struggle, but he was walking, proof of his incredible resilience. It was a sight that brought tears to the eyes of the hospital staff and the rescuer who had saved him. However, his recovery presented new challenges. Finding a foster home for a cat in his condition was no easy task. Potential fosters hesitated, overwhelmed by the idea of caring for a cat with special needs. For now, he remained with his rescuer, who was committed to giving him the love and care he needed, even as they searched tirelessly for someone who could provide a more permanent home. Weeks passed, and the cat continued to make progress. His once shaky steps grew steadier, and his appetite returned. He started to show glimpses of his personality, a quiet but affectionate soul who enjoyed curling up in warm, sunny spots. For the first time since the accident, there was a sense of normalcy in his life. Then, one day, the rescuer noticed something unusual. The cat's eyes, which had been clear and bright, were now watery and running. Concerned, they took him back to the hospital for another examination. The diagnosis was an eye ulcer, likely caused by the trauma he had endured. It was a setback, but one the vet assured them could be treated with proper care. Medications were prescribed, and the rescuer diligently followed the treatment plan, administering drops and ensuring the cat's eyes were protected from further irritation. Over time, the treatment proved successful. The ulcer healed, and the cat's eyes regained their clarity. The episode served as a reminder of how fragile his recovery was, but it also highlighted his incredible will to heal and thrive despite the odds. Through it all, the bond between the cat and his rescuer deepened. They had been through so much together, and while the search for a permanent foster or adopter continued, the rescuer knew that this cat had already found a place in their heart. The cat's journey was a testament to resilience and compassion. From the moment he was rescued from the roadside, through his struggles to regain mobility and overcome an unexpected eye condition, he showed an unyielding spirit. While his future remains uncertain, one thing is clear. This cat has already beaten the odds, thanks to the kindness of a stranger who refused to look away, and the dedication of a team of veterinarians who believed in his ability to recover. Every small victory, the first wobbly steps, the healing of his eyes, the trust he placed in his rescuer, is a reminder of the power of hope and the profound impact of compassion. Their stories aren't just about survival. It's about the second chances we all deserve, and the extraordinary things that can happen when someone takes the time to care. Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please consider giving us a thumbs up. Tell us what you think in the comment section, and don't forget to subscribe to our channel